My mom died when I was 6 years old. My dad ended up turning to one of his good friends, Anna, and they ended up getting married when I was 7. Anna brought up the idea of adopting me the day of the wedding. It was something my dad was all for, but I went nuts when she mentioned it to me, and I kinda spoiled the rest of the wedding. For the next year we did this really intense therapy where I was told over and over again, by the therapist and them, that I needed a mom, that it would provide safety for me. And that it was not a betrayal of my mom to accept another loving mom into my life. The therapist put the recommendation into the court to approve it, but when the judge spoke to me, I told him that I would run away, and that I would do everything to never come back. I was 8 at the time and meant business. He asked me why I didn't want to be adopted. He listened. And when he addressed the court again, he denied the adoption request and told my dad and Anna that until I was on board no adoption would be approved in his court. They did try again, requesting a different judge, but received the same response. I was asked constantly to change my mind. Anna would put her all into trying to fill the place of a mom in my life. Every time I told her she could never be my mom, she took it as a challenge to try harder, and better, and she would dedicate so much time to me it was crazy. I never appreciated it because instead of just being Anna, and instead of my dad telling her to just be Anna, she saw mom as the only thing she wanted. Even when she had kids of her own, I was their oldest son, I was her son, her boy, she'd call herself a boy mom, etc. Whereas I have never called her mom. If we're being honest, I don't even love her after all these years. I see her as more of an intrusive family member who won't stop. My relationship with my dad is also not the best because I don't like that he wouldn't take no for an answer, and that he was so quick to try and push an adoption. Even after I told him I would rather be with grandparents, or an aunt/uncle or close family friend to Anna if he died, he insisted being with Anna and her being my mom was the best for me. I turned 18 a few months ago and I ran like my ass was on fire to get away from Dad and Anna. I lived with my maternal grandparents for a little while before moving in with my maternal uncle who lived near a really good apprenticeship I wanted to join. My paternal grandparents celebrated their wedding anniversary this past weekend and I was there. While there, Anna approached me and handed me papers for an adult adoption. She told me she loved me and she wanted me to know it was not too late. That she would still adopt me and she wanted to make our relationship official as mother and son. I asked her how she could be so delusional when I have said no to being adopted for 11 years now. I told her I would not change my mind. She and my dad were so pissed at my choice of words and chaos ensued at the party. I went on a date with Jack recently. It was our first and last date. I didn't know him really well and we only know each other through friends. We were set up by one of them and we talked a bit before deciding to go out. He seemed normal. We went to a cafe. Now we had only gotten there, just sat down, when he got a call from his mom. No big deal. He took the call in front of me so I had no other option to hear what he was talking about. He told his mom that we had arrived and it's all fine. I thought that's fine, maybe he was anxious or something or his mom was wishing him luck. We got talking and within half an hour his mom called again. He picked it up and gave her an update of everything we had talked about in the last 30 minutes. It weirded me out, but then she proceeded to call him 3 more times within 2 hours. And he would recap everything we had talked about right in front of me and then go back to conversation as if nothing had happened. I even commented about his mom's constant calling and he said he's a mama's boy. It weirded me out, so I cut our date short and turned down his idea for dinner. When I reached home I messaged him that I had a good time but I couldn't see a future with him as our personalities were poles apart. He responded an okay, best of luck. Obviously the friend who had set us up asked me about the date and I told her about his mom calling every half an hour. I also told my friends about the date. Now apparently he asked out another girl and she turned him down. He found out that people knew about this situation. He sent me a text calling me some nice words and saying that it was private information. And I shouldn't have told people about it. He also called me a racist, which doesn't make sense to me. We are both of Indian descent. I mean, it wasn't the constant calling that stuck out to me, it was the fact that he was literally recapping everything to her. This whole severe codependency situation didn't sit right with me at all. I do think I might be in a hole because I told his private business to the world, but also maybe not. My fiance's sister and her husband came over for dinner last night. They have a 5-year-old daughter, Emily. Some background: Emily is a very curious girl and loves to play and explore, and she really loves playing dress up. I have a pretty nice clothing/shoe collection that I showed Emily one of the first times she came over. Since then, I have let Emily borrow many items of my clothing to try on for fun and put on fashion shows with. I was completely okay with this until this summer when Emily asked to try on a pair of my expensive heels. This was partially my fault in that I said yes, but couldn't monitor her the entire time because I was busy preparing food for a lunch party I was setting up. I thought that her parents were watching her since they saw her put them on, but apparently not. I come back to check in on her 20 minutes later and she had cut one of the bows off of the shoes and was in the process of cutting off the other one. I was absolutely horrified and immediately stopped her, which resulted in a huge tantrum. Her parents rushed in and were asking her what happened, and she said she didn't like the look of the bows and wanted them off, so she found scissors from my office, which she wasn't supposed to go into at all. I was extremely upset at this and had to excuse myself to calm down. After, my fiance's sister and husband apologized and seemed really sorry, but never offered to pay for the cost of repair. My fiancé, unbeknownst to me at the time, had then reached out to his sister to ask her to either buy me a new pair or pay for the repair. After a week, I got a random text from his sister asking me if I'd like them to pay for the cost of repair. I declined because it sounded like she was forced to send the text. Fast forward to last night. It's their family's first time seeing us after the engagement, which happened 3 weeks ago. Yay! It was Emily's first time seeing the ring, so she kept asking me to show her, and I did multiple times. After dinner, we were all sitting on the couch and Emily asked to see the ring again, except this time she asked if she could try it on. I was expecting my fiancé's sister to intervene immediately and tell her that isn't appropriate, but she said nothing and just laughed. I was personally uncomfortable with the idea of her trying it on because 1, the ring is very personal to me and very expensive, and 2, I was still slightly scarred after the whole shoe incident and was worried about something like that happening again. I basically said something like, "Oh, this ring is very dear to me and I would like to keep it on my finger, but I can give you one of my other rings to try on if you'd like." She said no and asked again. I repeated myself. She started getting teary, and that's when her mom intervened and said, "Oh, come on, just let her try it on for a second, she's not gonna break the damn thing." I was getting annoyed at this point, so I just said, "I'd really prefer not." Cue awkward silence. Then her husband says, "Well, we should get going." But before they went out the door, my fiancé's sister said, "Well, now I get why you two don't want children, it's probably better off for everyone." I was immediately shocked by this absurd statement, and my fiancé goes, "That was fucking uncalled for," and she said, "It's just the truth," and rolled her eyes, and they all left. Now my fiancé's refusing to speak to his sister and has told me that we're not having her back again, and everyone's just overall upset. My fiancé doesn't blame me, but I can't help but think that maybe I should have acted differently. Am I the problem here? My kids, male and female twins, 9 years old, came home with lice from school last Friday. Yippee! My wife and I, both 37, got all the stuff we needed from the drugstore and set up the battle station in our bathroom. Now, here's the thing. Both kids have hair down to their shoulder blades. My daughter has been begging us for a buzz cut or something like that for a month or so now. My son loves his long hair and gets teary-eyed at the suggestion of a cut. We've been telling her to sleep on it for just a bit. Because even though hair grows back, it is a big change. With the licecapade, my daughter was saying, oh, just shave my head, that'll fix it. While of course shaving doesn't get rid of the lice, my wife looked at me and was like, at least we'd only have one head of longer hair to treat. So we shaved her head before treating it, and I have to say, she looks really cute. She loves it. She's excited to style it into a mohawk when it's longer, and both kids are happy and lice-free now. I don't know if I'll ever stop feeling creepy, but oh well. My sister came over today for dinner, and when I had told her we shaved daughter's head, I guess she thought I was joking. She freaked the fuck out and went on and on about how could we possibly shave a little girl's hair off, and if anything we should have shaved son's hair, and we were absolutely horrible. I was super surprised. I would never expect anything like this from her. I kinda just looked at her and was like, it's 2022. Do you honestly think it matters? Aside from that, they have 2 moms, surprise, so gendered shit was never gonna fly in this house, and you've known this for how many years now? What the hell is wrong with you? Get the fuck out. And I kicked her out before we ate. Kids were playing in the backyard, thank goodness. Reddit, I am so conflicted. I really flew off of the handle. I never do that. I'm always really calm and collected. I really freaked out on my sister, and I hate that I did that. I know I'm not the A for shaving my kid's head or defending it, but maybe I should have been calmer about it. My wife says I'm fine, but I'm kinda wanting to text sister and apologize for the outburst. What do you think? Am I in the bad here for going off on her like that? This whole story might be a little confusing, but bear with me. I dated my ex for 2 years during college, and it was the most toxic relationship I had ever been in. I was 18 and naive, so I stayed for way longer than I should have, but he was incredibly emotionally abusive towards me and treated me like shit. When I finally left him, he begged for me back continuously until I blocked him. The damage he did to me took me years of therapy to undo. Fast forward a couple years, I'm in a new relationship and I'm the happiest I've ever been. My ex also has a new girlfriend, one of his old friends from college, and I only know this because me and her have a mutual friend. 2 weeks ago, out of the blue, my mutual friend sends me 2 TikToks that my ex's girlfriend made about me. When I watched them, I was incredibly put off. The first one, she made over 3 months ago, and was a cringy video where she compared pictures of me, that she screenshotted off of my Instagram, to her pictures, saying how much of an upgrade she was from me. This was a nasty trend on TikTok for a bit. The second one is the one that I really was pissed off at. It was a video of her laughing to a stereotypical Chinese song with the caption, "When your man's ex-girlfriend is one of those fresh off the boat, gold digger Chinese girls that are obsessed with white guys." I was appalled when I read that. Not only is it extremely racist and sexist, it is also a total lie. I was born in the US and have a highly successful career. She completely stereotyped me. I showed my boyfriend and he was equally pissed off and even said I should post a TikTok about her and expose her for being a racist. Now here's where I might have gone too far. I left a comment on her TikTok and said, "Interesting how racists love other racists." I wasn't expecting her to respond, only maybe to delete my comment. But she actually DM'd me on my Instagram and said something along the lines of how I'm crazy for being so obsessed with her to comment lies on her TikToks and that I'm blocked. In response, I said, maybe you should spend less time making TikToks about me and ask, ex-boyfriend, about his opinions on her race. The truth is that he said some absolutely deplorable things about her race that I won't share. It sickened me completely when he shared those thoughts and was one of the major reasons I left him. He's actually made racist comments directly about her when we were together. She then made fun of me more, and refused to believe me, so I sent her one screenshot of something horrible he'd said about her race. She left me on read and I never heard from her again. Apparently, she told our mutual friend about this, who then reached out to me a few days ago basically telling me off and saying I overstepped and that I should have just kept things to myself. She also felt betrayed that I revealed to her that she had been sending me my ex's girlfriend's TikToks. It's been a few weeks and now that I've had some time to calm down, I feel like I may have acted too harshly. My boyfriend still supports me and thinks I did good for exposing him to her, but I'm kind of regretting my actions.